So have you found yourself waking up recently, maybe feeling a little bit overwhelmed or maybe feeling a little bit down, or like you're just ready for this to be over? You're in a crunch and you're just ready to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yes?
Yes. And you know what? Coco Chanel said, if you're sad, add more lipstick and attack.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Meridith Alexander, and welcome to today's episode of Lipstick Leadership with my co-host.
I'm Debbie Lundberg of Presenting Powerfully. Thank you. And yes, Lipstick Leadership. You've come to the right place for empowering women and men, as we like to say, empowering women to greatness through communication, resilience, and grit. And isn't this what this is a lot about, Meredith? Is that
Absolutely.
Grit?
Absolutely. And I think, there's so many times in our life and in our businesses. I mean, clearly right now we are filming this right in the middle of COVID-19. So clearly there has never been a time that has required more courage and grit and resilience collectively. But we individually have these moments throughout our lifetime. I call them our boulder, like when the boulder falls sort of moments that require us to be bolder. And so I think, Debbie, what are your favorite tips? Like if someone is really feeling overwhelmed, what do you recommend that how do you think your clients can get out of that?
Yes. Well, first, in respecting that we both feel this way, because we've talked about it, if it's a significant, certainly they should be going to a psychologist, psychiatrist, a doctor. Now, we're talking about if people are just feeling funky or off or down or even sad, as that quotation said. A few really good, quick tips are figure out what gives you energy. And I don't mean false energy, like an energy drink. I mean, we're not knocking that, but we're not promoting it either. Do you get energy from having relaxation? Then afford yourself, allow yourself, and honor yourself with that relaxation. Sometimes sadness and disappointment or feeling like you don't see the end of the tunnel is because you haven't given yourself that counterpart to it. It can be that you're coming from a place of lack. And so is it going for a run? Is it getting outside? If it feels frivolous and you like it, you don't have to feel bad about it. I mean, for some people, they might want to read a romance novel, or they might want to go for a swim. And people say they don't feel great about saying they want to be away from their family. But if that means getting some different energy, then it's important that you know yourself and don't expect yourself to work through something without the best tools. So moments like that, or a few hours like that, you can typically bring yourself out by knowing yourself, relying on your knowledge, and then taking action. So know, believe, act.
Absolutely. Those great tips. And I think it is so important to understand the power of changing your state sometimes. And to your point, it can be changing location. I mean, I think that's one reason why vacations can be so energizing, and why sometimes it really is valid to say, I need to take a mental health day here, right? I think that's really, really valid, because you're going to rejuvenate yourself, re-energize yourself, refocus yourself when you use your mental health day, let's say properly, when you really, approach it deliberately and with a system, right? We're all about systems. And so it can be a quick change of state, especially when you're working remotely. Super, super, super important. And I know that Debbie's actually writing a book on, being a remote rock star. And one of the things, and I've been working remotely for decades, and one thing that is really, really, really essential when you are working remotely and you're starting to feel a little bit draggy, or maybe you've just had a couple calls that brought you down, just simply remembering to get up every hour or so, to get up and go outside. In my case, I walk the dogs and really am very, very present when I'm outside. I'm not thinking about my work. I'm very present. And that change of state is, I mean, Debbie mentioned the word energy. Energy is so important. More and more neuroscience is discovering that when you reduce us down, even below the molecular level, we are energy. And so therefore we have to keep it flowing. We have to keep it vibrant, and being very deliberate and very present and remembering to change our state is absolutely golden. It's like a secret sauce if you're starting to feel that.
Yes, and that ties us to another tip to bring it together is, and our listeners have heard this before, so we know that there are repeats, and it's because some tools can be used in many ways. And isn't that place of, we talk about energy and reflection and movement and mood? Well, what better time to reflect on what you're grateful for? Because that place when we don't know what's next, we can often rely on our own experience when we put our energy, to go back to that, to put our energy into what worked in the past, not because it's the same, rather because we can draw from that experience and that energy to move positively forward. So if we can be grateful for what happened, even if we had a failure or a mistake, if we're grateful for what we learned, we don't come from a place of fear of saying, I don't want that to happen again. We come from a place of, I know how to overcome that or not get in that situation again. So that's one of the best things that, you're right, in Remote Work Rockstar, I do talk a bit about that, of the mindset and the way that we position in our communication, even to ourselves, really does impact how much we feel that we can attack, to use Coco Chanel's word. How can we really attack this day, this situation in a positive way, and not feel as though our attack is defensive, but it's more offensive?
Absolutely. So I think you got some great tips today. So let me just summarize them, because again, to Debbie's point, power of redundancy, right? I mean, going back to research shown that if you just review within, for 10 minutes for 7 days in a row, the same sort of thing, the amount of retention that you're going to have goes up dramatically. So the power of redundancy is super important when you're trying to learn new habits, when you're stacking new habits on existing habits. So what gives you energy? That's a big takeaway from today. Be very aware as you move forward of what gives you energy. Know, believe, act, and change your state. If you start to feel like you're stuck, change your state, whatever that means, whether that means moving more, even if you can't go outside, turn on some dancing music for a minute, right? Just kick it, let loose, right? Do something different. And then of course, what you're grateful for. Gratitude is a huge, going back to that word, secret sauce of high achievers, people who show up at the highest level. It's the secret sauce. It should definitely be written down. Just take a moment. It doesn't take long. First thing in the morning, and even right before you go to bed, part of your ritual, part of your personal empowerment system that we're talking about. So Gia, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Lipstick Leadership. If you enjoyed it, I hope that you will actually give us a 5-star rating and subscribe, and even share it with some of your friends or colleagues who you think might find some value for that today. But I'm Meridith Alexander of Grit Mindset Academy, and
I'm Debbie Lundberg of Presenting Powerfully. You can find Meridith online at gritmindsetacademy.com. That's her name. You can follow her a lot of places, as well as me at Debbie Lundberg. We're available together or separately. We certainly believe in what we're doing with Lipstick Leadership. So thank you again. Remember, we are here for you to be empowering women and men to greatness through communication, resilience, and grit. So thank you.
Woo, hope this helps, guys.